Um, so Megan, if you would like to take over, I will mute
Yes.
myself.
All right. Well, thank you, Erica. Thank you so much for asking me to come on. I feel honored to be that you asked me. So I can't even remember the first time that Erica and I met, but I feel like Instagram, I know that sounds crazy, drew me to her. I don't even know how I started following you or why, but there was time to time where we would swipe up on each other's stories, and then after meeting her face to face, I feel like I've known her forever. She's just one of those people that I feel super comfortable with. Like I can totally be myself around. And so I feel myself getting drawn to you as well. When you're around, I'm like, ooh, I want to be where she's at because you're fun. And so you guys are so lucky to have a leader like her because she is amazing. I have been a rep with Zaya for 2.5 years. I'll just give you a little bit of background about myself. Live in Iowa, live in small town, rural Iowa. I'm married. I have 4 children. As Erica said, my oldest daughter is a sophomore in college. And yes, she loves her Zaya, loves to flaunt her Zaya around. And my other daughter is a junior in high school. She loves her Zaya as well. And then I have an 8th grade boy and a 3rd grade boy. So we have all spectrums of ages and kids. And our entire family is all about Zaya. Like today, not only are my daughters asking what new releases are out, but my husband and then now my boys start to ask. So it's just been super fun because we get to have all different sex and sizes through Zaya. But I was part of direct sales before Zaya. I also worked full time as a marketing consultant from home out of a company from Portland, Oregon. And I was part of a health and wellness direct sales company, and I was traveling a lot with that company. It was a lot of in home taste testing. I wasn't confident 100% in the product. I knew it worked for me, but I started feeling like I didn't know that that would be something I could wholeheartedly talk about with other people and feel like I was 100% had belief in it. And so, right at that time where I was having a lot of doubt with the company is when Zaya kind of fell into my lap. Mariah Backey is a gal that introduced Zaya to our family. She used to babysit my kids when she lived in Carroll. She now lives in Florida. We saw her post to post on social media, and kind of the rest is history. But I knew right away when I started with Zaya that I was going to go 100% all in. At that time, I really wanted to be contribute more to our family. My husband also owns his own business, a waterproofing company, so he's really busy, gone a lot. And there were a lot of things happening where I wanted to be able to stay home, but yet still have a business where I could contribute. And so Zaya was just like the perfect fit for our family at the time. So I knew right away I was going to go 100% all in. And so I love talking about leadership and that mindset shift because I feel like there was a point in my business where I had that shift where I knew if I wanted it to take it to the next level, like I had to shift that my mind. And one thing that I want to talk about, and then I'm going to talk about 10 different key things that I think are so important in leading not only a team, but yourself in this business. When I had that mind shift was when I started saying things like, my team is not doing anything, or she isn't doing this, they're not doing this. And I really had to wrap my brain around the language I was using and my what I was even thinking. I had to stop and think, what am I even saying? Or, this is not about them. This is truly about me and what I can do to help serve others. And you have to take a look in the mirror and say, it's not about them, it's about you, and what can you help them do to help them rise in this business or help them better themselves in this business. And when I made that shift, when I took it away from me and it was about them and helping them, I feel like that's when everything started changing for me. And one thing, I know, Erica, I popped on your live when you were talking, was it yesterday? And you were talking about that chat, that level 1 chat, and having that constant communication with your team. That is the number one thing for me that I always say to our leaders. If you don't have that, you have to have that, because um, they're looking for your lead all of the time. And so if you're popping in and out, and if you're not in it all the time, they're going to follow your lead. So if you're popping in and out, they're going to do the same thing. So I love when you said that, because that's the number one thing that I always tell my girls is have that constant communication with your team, whether it's a chat, a WhatsApp, whatever it is, a messenger on Facebook, however you want that communication to be, you have to have it, because you have to constantly be motivating and inspiring your team. And checking in, like, we have lives, like, it cannot always be just Zaya. Like, check in with your girls, check in with your team, and make sure that you're having that communication with them. So number one, so I have 10 things I'm going to talk through, and then Erica, if you want me to add anything or talk about anything else at the end, just feel free to ask me any questions or interrupt me at any time if you're thinking something, or want to say something. But number one, show up. This is the big thing for me. I don't know. I always use Natalie Robinson as an example for this, because I remember when I first started, and she always showed up. If there were ever a call, if there was ever a training, if there was ever a question to her, she always answered. She was always there. She always helped train. She was always showing up. And I remember thinking, like, I want to be a leader like that. I want to make sure that I'm holding myself accountable and I'm always showing up. Now, if you always show up, your team is going to follow suit as well. So if you're not engaging, your team's not going to engage. You have to engage and you have to show up, because then that's going to be that duplication effect, and that ripple effect is going to happen throughout your team. And then number two, be brave. Do the things like Erica said. If you're asked to speak, speak. I remember at Mini Summit, the first time I met Erica, I did not want to get on stage. It was like the scariest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Truly, I remember shaking. I couldn't feel my legs for the longest time afterwards. But I knew in order to better myself as a leader, I had to do it. I had to get out of that fear and do that. So do the things, be brave, whether it's hosting your first team call by yourself. Maybe Erica's not present, or your first training. It doesn't have to be speaking in front of 1,000 people. It can be just those small things, but be brave, because your team needs to see you. It can't always be, they need to see you. They need to see, they want to be inspired by you. They want to be motivated by you. So be brave to do those things. Number three, honesty and transparency. Gain your trust through your team. Use your team. You're not always going to know everything, and you're not going to be the best at everything. I know when I'm working with my team, if it's something that I know, like, I'm not the best at, I'll ask Robin to cover it. I'll say, Robin, hey, you touch on this. You're really good at this. Or Jamie, you're awesome at this. Will you lead on this? Like, you're not going to be great at everything, and be honest and transparent with your team, because this business, it's okay not to know everything. We're constantly growing and constantly changing. So I always say, like, as a leader, be the most honest and transparent leader that you can be. And then turn it into a serving business. Again, like, how can you help others? To be great, the saying, to be great, we must serve others. Like, how can you helping your team achieve their goals, how can you help them do that? It's not about you and your goals, but how can you help them? Because the beauty of this business is when you are helping others rise, you're all rising together. And that's to me, that's the best part of Zaya. If I'm rank advancing, my team is rank advancing right along with me. And then 6, work hard. Like, success doesn't come unless we're working hard. We have to put in the work. I know that, sometimes we want that success to just happen overnight, or we're working really hard for 3 months, and we may not be getting where we want to be, or where our goals are, but continue to put in that hard work, because again, whatever you're doing, your team's going to see you do, and that's going to be that ripple effect. If they see Erica putting in the time and putting in the work, they're going to do that as well. They're going to want to follow suit. And then number 7, drive your why. Like, why are you doing this? You're wanting to evolve. Make sure that you're always having your why at the front and foremost of what you're doing. And then number 8, time rises with you. Okay, so following, again, their success is your success. So as you're helping them, that in turn is going to be your success as well. So make sure that you're working. So this is one thing that I'm constantly doing with my team is at the beginning of every single month, I'm asking all of my level 1s what their goals are, all of my leaders what their goals are. I am working then one-on-one with, I'm just going to use Robin as an example. So Robin is a level 1 of mine. I'm working directly with her and I'm drilling down her team. So I'm in communication with just her and her team. It's not, I do a lot of things as a big team overall, but then I also am constantly removing myself from my business, looking down on each individual team that I have and focusing in on exactly what their needs are for their team. So make sure that you're in tune of what their goals are and where they're going, because if you don't know, it's going to be really hard for you to help them. And so every single month at the beginning of the month, I'm asking, what are your goals for this month? We're drilling down exactly what we need to do to help her achieve those goals. So again, her success then becomes my success as well. So when you're working that closely with your teams and really knowing, because what Robin's team needs is different than what Jamie's team needs. Maybe we're focused in on Robin's team is recruiting and they're sponsoring, but there's no duplication happening. So we need to focus training on duplication and sharing the opportunity and how they can start adding people to their teams. And Jamie's team might need to focus on her volume is really low and parties aren't getting scheduled. So we need to focus on training. So every team can be different. And so you really have to know exactly what their goals are and what you need to work with on each of their teams with. And then number 9, take action. Don't fear the action, embrace it. Know that you're always having action items with your business. So we focus on our team. We call it the 4 simple steps of building your business. And we drive this into any onboarding we have with our team. It's brought up in every training that we do. It's the 4 simple steps of building your business. Number 1, reach outs. Number 2, parties. Number 3, follow up. And number 4, share the opportunity. So we're constantly taking those 4 steps and building those into action. So example, reach outs. How do we drive action with reach outs? What do we do? So we do example, we do an activity, list out 100 names in 10 minutes of people that you're going to reach out to. Number 2, action of parties, booking parties. Maybe it's a booking blitz that we run for 60 minutes. Maybe it's, or a power hour for 60 minutes that we do, or maybe it's a booking blitz for 3 days that we run to book parties. Like, it's constantly working on those action steps. And then number 3, fortune is in the follow-up. Follow up with 5 people today, whatever it may be to drive those action steps. It's something that is in our training over and over and over again. And then number 10 is stretch yourself to seek growth. Stretch yourself to new levels. Go a little further than what you thought. Like, if maybe your goal is this month, I'm going to sponsor 3 people, stretch it to 4, or keep stretching your goals every single month. And then again, your team is going to follow suit. And then don't be scared to talk about the big things, the big goals, the big dreams. Because again, if you're talking about it as a leader, your team's going to do the same thing as well. They're going to continue to dream big and talk about the bigger goals. Let's see here. So those are the 10 major steps that we have of kind of when we're focusing on leading our teams. And then let's see, what else did I write down that I wanted to touch on? Coach them. Like, here's another thing. So when I talked about those action steps of the 4 simple steps, reach outs, parties, follow up, share the opportunity, coach them through. Example, let's say a team is talking about how they're just getting no's. Everybody's saying no, they can't book parties, they can't get anyone added to their team. Coach them through those things. Okay, so when they're saying no, what are they saying? Here's how we can combat with that. Like, teach them how to coach. So teach your leaders how to coach their teams through these things. That's a huge thing. And then let's see, the chats, I talked about that, chats. And then again, just make sure that you're continuing to keep this simple for your teams. Make sure that everything, that's why we have that, again, those 4 simple steps of building. That is another thing that we teach our leaders, is keep everything simple. Don't overcomplicate things where they're going to feel like they're watching you and they can't do what you're doing. Like, keep it simple so that that duplication is always happening throughout your teams. And then again, make sure that you're checking with your team one-on-one. I have a lot of leaders that will say, when she's ready, she'll let me know, or she'll get back to me, or she'll let me know when she's ready to start building her team, or whatever it is. You guys have to make sure that it's not being that you're reaching down to them, because again, they signed up with you, they believe in you, they trusted in you. People need to be motivated and inspired. Sometimes people think that if they reach out to someone, or that they're bugging them, or that they're annoying them, or again, that's that mindset shift. Like, you have to get out of your own way and make sure that you're working with your teams one-on-one, and that you're not worried about contacting them or having that communication with them. It is so, so key and so important. I have a one-on-one Zoom with most of my level ones at least once a month, not once a week, but at least once a month, where I'm just saying like, hey, Robin, let's just focus on you and I, this Zoom time one-on-one, and we focus on her team and her team only. Because I know sometimes in the large chats where which is so good that you have team chats, but sometimes it's hard for people to individually bring up things because they feel like that's not really specific to their teams. So the one-on-one thing is huge. I do a ton of one-on-one coaching with leaders, with my level ones. And then once a leader is ready, let them go. Like, you don't want them to need you. I know sometimes it's hard as leaders, like we feel like we have to be constantly in our other teams' businesses, but you guys, if they're ready to lead and off doing their thing, let them go. Like, let them fly. It's okay to do that. And sometimes we get like territorial about letting them go, but that is so important, that once they're off and kind of running their teams, that you're letting them lead and that you're letting them fly. Let's see. And then another thing too, when we're leading our teams one-on-one, it's okay to, this is one thing, I can't remember whose training I was on that they talked about this. It's okay to do incentives for specific teams as well. So if you're a leader and you have, say, 4 strong leaders, and you want to work with each of those leaders separately on an incentive, it's okay to do that, to break it down individually. I found that that's really helped with growing teams, because again, each individual team has needs, different goals and different needs, and what we need to work on with each team is different. And so sometimes I incentivize differently. It's okay to do a big team incentive, but then it's also okay to do individual incentives as well. Let's see. Keep your why closed. Love that. Okay. So those are the 10 things. Any questions with any of that? I was kind of all over the place, Erica. Sorry. I was trying to make sure I didn't miss anything that I jotted down. Anyone had, or anything that you want to ask me, Erica? Shoot.
No, I was like trying to write down I was like back to college. I'm like, here, but I think it was a great overall like snapshot. I think it's nice to see obviously other leaders, how they do things, because I think sometimes whenever we see success, we think, oh, it's just so easy, you know, and that's why I tell people all the time, like your frustrations, your successes are sometimes the same and like clear across the board. So I really, really like that. I love how you, the 4 simple steps, like I love that because it's, you know, like it's so simple and you don't have to, I think sometimes there's so much training sometimes
Yeah.
that we like, oh, squirrel, you know, and I think I mean, I know what my process is in my business and in my leadership, and every now and then I'll like plug little things in, but I think it's really important for this group to figure out what their deal cake is, you know what I mean? Like, and like you said, I know I reflecting on this, I see my leaders, a lot of them will do things that I do, you know, and then a lot of them over time will kind of like go off on their own things, which I find I love that.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know what I mean? So
Mhm. Yeah. And
um
the one big thing too is I think sometimes it's really hard for leaders to separate their personal business from them then helping their teams and how you make that shift. And I always
mhm,
say it's so important, obviously, that you always work your personal business all the time. Like we all want to do that because that's going to bring, more hostesses, more reps, more. You always want to in your volume, you always want to do that. But then I always say, once you have a team and you are leading a team, it's like you're removing yourself from your personal business. So you're removing yourself and you're looking down. So let's say you've sponsored 4 people, example. You're looking down at those 4 people individually and breaking down their teams. That is so, so key and so important. Like
yeah,
I remember going like for doubles I exec and like what I had to do to get there. And it was so key for me to know exactly what Robin's team needed, what Jamie's team needed, what Susie's team needed. Like I had to break it down individually. And that's what takes time is because you have to remove yourself from your personal side and then dig into their teams
mhm.
and how you can help them. And that's really, really key.
Yeah, I mean, and I think some, like, especially for a lot of people in this group too, like that growth can happen so quick that the sooner that you practice these behaviors as a leader, the easier it gets on a bigger scale. I also like that you mentioned Natalie because, um, you know, I think as we grow, you know, we have these like founding people here, and I'm blessed, obviously, to know like Charmaine and I. We know some of them, but I think after Mini Summit, I reached out to you, to, you know, like Tinley, and like having those relationships with you guys and seeing how you've grown your teams, and having friendships with you now, it's made me a stronger leader because like I take little pieces of Ellie, little pieces of Katie, little pieces of you know, and now I'm helping like Charmaine's people, and you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, and it comes back to me too. So that's another thing that I wrote down. Like, I would not be, if you're in this group, I would not be scared to send messages to Megan, to Robin,
Oh
you
my God,
know,
no.
to
Yeah.
Chrissy, or whoever, because I'm sure they get a lot. But at the same time, like if people reach out to me, I'm like, yeah, I'm there. What do you need? You know?
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
And I saw that Charmaine was chatting. Does anyone else have any questions? Or does Charmaine want to chime in here? Because I know, I don't even know. She might be, oh, she's here, but throwing a party. So um, if you do have any questions, I think you can unmute yourself. But that's fine too. Uh, Let me ask you this. This is kind of off mindset, but when do you do an incentive every month for your squad? Or have you always, or how did it start?
Yeah. So before some of my leaders teams got bigger, yeah, I always used to do a team incentive that was just with my entire team. So all my level ones are our whole entire team. I did a lot of booking blitzes. I don't know if you guys do those. We did a ton of booking blitzes, and then we would do like a monthly incentive, either based on numbers or recruiting, whatever. We kind of would always wait to see what played off what Zaya was doing, because that was always a good way to kind of run our incentive. Then as our team started getting bigger and larger, um, we do a lot more now. Like I keep using Robin as an example. I'll work with Robin and say, okay, what are you working on this month, or what are your goals? What is your incentive going to be? And then maybe I'll say, okay, I'll help you double that. Like whatever you're planning to do, and then I kind of work with her on her incentive, and then maybe work with Jamie on her incentive as well. Because it's
Mhm.
a lot harder to do a bigger one because they want to do their own individual team ones. But in the beginning, yeah, I did all the time. Anything I could do. Now, some of my leaders that like my directors or senior directors or executives, I'll do individual incentives with them and their team separate. I'll say like, hey, Morgan, let's do a booking blitz with your team, because I know maybe her funds or what she's making from Zyre right now can't really afford maybe what Robin's doing. It's different because their teams are different sizes. Um, so yeah, so then I'll work individually with different leaders to come up with an incentive.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
I got a little like away from incentives for a little while because I was feeling like buying thousands of dollars Tory Burch shoes wasn't really getting me, you know,
One thing we started doing, this is a really good one, because we found that too. Like, oh my gosh, how many more Sorel boots can we buy, or what, whatever. But we would do where we'd say, okay, you are going to win a one-on-one coaching with Robin, Eddie, or maybe we would ask Natalie, hey, for our incentive, we're going to give away an hour coaching. Would you be willing to do that for our
Mhm.
team? Or Ellie, or, you can do stuff like that too. That's not as much cost. That
Mhm.
kind of like, actually, they were almost like more excited about that than they were the actual sandals or
Yeah, right.
items.
Hmm. Yeah.
But another thing too, when this is another thing I noticed too, when I'm working with someone individually, um, it's so much easier to know like exactly what their goals are, and that constant communication one-on-one with them. And then throughout the entire month, I'm kind of watching. And then it's so easy to check in and be like, hey, Robin, you're at this, you're only this far away. Like when you're in tune with exactly where they're at, they have a tendency to work more towards their goal because they're like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. Or they feel more motivated and pushed by you because they feel like you're cheering them on. They're like,
Right.
wow, she's really cheering me on. She's really, you know, she really knows where I'm at right now. She really wants this for me. And that helps so much. Like I cannot stress that enough. Like I feel like that's really, really helped the growth of our team, because now a lot of my leaders are doing that same thing with their teams. And again,
Right.
it's that domino effect that starts happening throughout your team.
Right. Yeah, I think that for my personal business, a lot of my leaders are my friends anyway. So like telling, like we talk all the time, all day. So there isn't communication is coaching, you know what I mean? So you kind of have like a snapshot of what's going on in your business, and you kind of are able to talk through that. And I know 100% that's why Charmaine's group is so successful, is because she does have close relationships with her leaders. But
Yeah.
I think, sometimes, I mean, I get stuck in it sometimes when someone drops and, talk to them for a while. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, and every
Yep.
now and then you have people who are working the business, whether you talk to them or not. But, I think I always hope that my people are like, I can go to her when
Yep.
but for my leaders, I mean, when you're building directors or building leaders, like you want to talk to them a lot, you
Yep.
know,
Yep.
that's just always been helpful for me. And I guess it's just because they were my friends anyway. So I was already talking to them. But for some people's business, it might not be like that.
Right. Right.
Like
Yep.
it would probably be weird for you not to talk to Robin
Oh
for
gosh. Yeah.
a week. You know what I mean? It would just be weird,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Yep.
So,
Yep. And I do notice, like today I had an executive on my team. So her numbers haven't really been hitting executive lately. And I mean, life happens and everyone gets busy, and she's a nurse, a working nurse who works a night shift, but she's so in and out of her business so much that her team falls
yeah.
off so much. And and so we had this long conversation today that, you have to find balance to be able to fit to the nooks and crannies of your day the best that you can. So you're not in and out so much, because when you're at an executive level or a senior director or director, even they have to see you, like you have to be engaging and you have to be present. And if you're in and out too much, it just, again, it's that trickle effect all the way down.
Uh, I know it's hard. It's hard
Yeah.
to as a leader sometimes, but
Yep. Yep.
well, I appreciate you coming on. I know you had a lot of calls. I think I'm probably had an Australia call tonight. So I know maybe art squads are called out, but I'm so excited I got to see you,
Yes.
and
Yes. Thank you so much.
and
Thanks for having me.
follow along in the group all month long and post or comment or whatever you want.
Yeah.
And
No, I loved watching you go live. I was like,
yeah,
that
I'm supposed to post every day, but I cannot. I have 4 parties right now, so I'm constantly posting. I'm like, these bitches are getting lives. That's all there is. Sorry about it, but and I do tell people that a lot. It's posts are different from voice notes, and they're different from direct messages. And sometimes I'm very surprised at the relationships I build through Messenger and my parties. I'm like, I don't even. If I were them, I'd be like ghosting me because I'm so like, what do you like? What do you want? People, I'm like, I love that. I love being able to build relationships
Yeah.
via Messenger.
Uh-huh.
So,
Fun.
um,
Yeah. Hopefully I wasn't all over the place. Sorry, guys. My notes were
no,
all
yeah. And if you snapshot your notes or whatever, I can put the
Yes.
1 through 10. People can just listen to the call, whatever is
Yep.
clever.
Yep. Yep. Yes, I can.
All right, Charmaine, we're gonna let you get back to your bonfire.
Thank you guys for having me.
Bye, guys. Thanks for
All right,
coming.
bye. Have a great night.